Okay, hello boys and girls. This is for Engage New York 6th grade, Module 3, Lesson 3. So today we're going to be looking at positive and negative numbers found in the real world. So you'll need the classwork and then also the problem set. We'll start with the classwork. Example number 1, a look at sea level. The picture below shows 3 different people participating in activities at 3 different elevations. With your table mates, discuss what you see. What do you think the word elevation means in this situation? Push pause until you've had a chance to discuss. Okay, now that you have discussed what elevation means, hopefully you were able to determine that elevation means distance from sea level. So the 3 elevations. So the hiker, its distance from sea level is above. He's high above sea level. The sailor is at the top of the sea. He's at sea level. And the diver is below sea level, so his elevation is below. So elevation means distance from sea level. When we turn it over to the back, we are going to write an integer to represent each situation. Now, as we've already discussed, the word integer are all positive and negative whole numbers. So you are going to write a positive or negative whole number to represent the situation. So A, the scuba diver is 30 feet below 0. Write an integer that would represent 30 feet below 0. The integer for 30 feet below 0 would be negative 30. If we were thinking about sea level at as a number line, we would have at sea level, the diver is below sea level, and the hiker is above sea level. So now, the second situation is the sailor at sea level. So what would be the integer representing the sailor at sea level? So elevation means the distance from sea level. So sea level is our starting point. The integer for being at sea level would be 0. You're right at that starting point. You're not above, you're not below, you're right at sea level. So this would be 0. And then your third and final scenario is the hiker is 2 miles or 10,560 feet above sea level. So a lot of times sea level is in feet. So write the integer for the hiker being 10,560 feet above sea level. Because it's above sea level, it's going to be positive. So 10,560. Now, that means a positive 10,560. You can put a plus sign if you want, but this and this have the same value. They both mean positive. Okay, moving over to question number 2. Use an appropriate scale to graph each of the following situations on the number line to the right. So they've already provided you with a number line. You need to write an integer to represent both situations. So now we're moving away from the values given at number 1. We've been given new values for the hiker and the diver. So you need to come up with an appropriate scale for your number line. So scale is another vocabulary word that we've already gone over. Scale is the value of each space. So what are you counting by? What are you counting by? So on number 2, it says our hiker is 15 feet above sea level. So what would our integer be for 15 feet above sea level? If it's above sea level, it's above 0, so it's going to be positive 15. And then B, our diver, is 20 feet below sea level. So if it's below sea level, we've got sea level as our 0, so it's going to be a negative 20 feet. So here are the two integers. We now have to put on the number line. So looking at the spaces that you've been provided, we're not going to extend the number line. Think about what would be an appropriate scale. Okay, the scale that I've chosen to go by are 5, a scale of 5. So I have 0, I found the middle of my number line and marked it 0 for sea level. Then I'm going to count by 5s. So here's 5, 10, 15. And I'm going to plot a point, and you can put an H or the word hiker to know that this represents 15 feet above sea level. That's my hiker's elevation. Now, my scale has to be the same for both sides. So then I've got -5, -10, -15. My spaces are a little scrunched there. And then -20. That is where my diver is. My diver is 20 feet below sea level, or -20 feet. Okay, push pause until you have finished that. I'm going to move down to number 3 now. Number 3, for each statement there are 2 related statements, I and II. Determine which statement is expressed correctly and circle it. So that means for A, there are 2 statements. One is correct, one is incorrect. So then you're going to find the one that's correct, circle it, then correct the other statement so that they are both correct. So for 3A, the submarine is submerged 800 feet below sea level. So the submarine is 800 feet below sea level. I says the depth of the submarine is -800 feet below sea level. II, 800 feet below sea level can be represented by the integer -800. Push pause until you've decided which statement is correct. Okay, when you were choosing, the correct answer is II. You should have circled it. 800 feet below sea level is equivalent to -800. Now let's go back and look at the statement I. It says the depth of the submarine is -800 feet below sea level. Now, the reason that I is not correct is because it gives us double. The fact that it's -800 feet, we already know that it's below sea level. So we don't need to say -800 and below sea level. To change the statement and make it correct, you can say that the submarine is 800 feet below sea level. That would be the easiest way. So it's just to change that negative to a positive. The depth of the submarine is 800 feet below sea level. Okay, now keep that in mind as you move to B. The statement for B is the elevation of a coral reef with respect to sea level is given as -150 feet. So read I and II, determine which statement is correct. Push pause until you've decided. Okay, now you should have decided that I is in fact correct on this one. The coral reef is 150 feet below sea level. II is incorrect because again, they told us double. They said 150 feet below sea level. It's redundant. -150 feet. The negative part already tells me that it's below 0. So I don't need to have negative and below. So I can say the coral reef is 150 feet below sea level. Okay, that concludes our Lesson 3 classwork for today. Now, when you move over to the problem set to complete on your own, number 1, very self-explanatory. You're writing an integer to match the description. So you are going to write on the line a positive whole number or a negative whole number. That's all I want. Does each scenario represent a positive? You're going to actually write the integer. So you need to have a negative number or a positive number on the line. For 2 through 4, the directions say, read the real-world situation, determine if the 2 related statements are correct. So now we have A and B. So it could be A correct, B could be correct, or both A and B can be correct. This is just for 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to circle A, B, or both could be correct. On number 5, you need to do A through E. Each of them are a separate question that require a response. So make sure you answer A, B, C, D, E on number 5. I want you to complete as much as you can in class and then finish it for homework. That's all for today. Good luck.